Sometimes it's hard to focus, just to persevere and just to make it. But everything that's within your grasp, you gotta take it, you gotta go harder. Just dig deeper inside you to find that method, that mode that wants that hunger to survive, just to ride the grind, to take it the way you gotta take it and never stop.
Yeah, I have a lot of questions for you.
Awesome. All good. Well, that's great.
I think a bit of what you just did was sort of bring us through like your annual process, because StudentWorks is kind of seasonal. So you recruit ideally in-house, like you guys are finding people who are the best employees, and you're turning them into operators. And then basically from January onwards, you're teaching people the sales process, how to get leads, how do we close deals, how do we book and work. And then as the summer comes around, it's like, okay, how do we actually carry out on these promises? And I love your question, Phil, which is like, what's different between you guys and some of the other like courses and programs? I think one big thing for me that gave me trust in the program is like, I don't pay you guys anything unless I make money. It's entirely a royalty. So there's no like, oh, give me 10 grand and like, I hope you make money. It's like, hey, I'm going to invest all my time. I'm going to pick you. I'm going to train you up. I'm going to put a personal coach on you. I'm going to bring you out in person, do all these different training things, and then you're only going to pay me a small percentage of what you make. So I think for me, that was like, when I heard that, I was like, oh, okay. So
a lot of people, it's funny because, understandable students don't really understand business models, and they go, we've given them a $339 in HST, including HST in Ontario, or $315 in Quebec, refundable deposit. Oh my God. Like, oh, what a model for all that we're doing. It's like for my wife and I, who were the co-owners of the business, it's like well over 7-figure investment every year that we do it. And again, the only way we're doing it is because we've been doing it so long, so successfully, and so we can invest. And a huge part of that is investing in the incredible talent that we have. And them, right? The Ticos and the Devons and the Patricks and the Alexandras and Haleys and especially the full-time people who they need to get paid, understandably, right? So it's we need to pay them throughout the season, and so we basically go from no money really as of September, or let's say all the last money from the previous summer comes in October 1st. No money until May 1st. So that is not a good model. If you study business models at business schools, they will say, don't set that business model up. Set a business model that actually pays you before you do your service or whatever. Like Walmart's service, my understanding is companies drop products at Walmart. Walmart sold it before they give the money back to the customer. That's one of the reasons why Walmart is so successful. So for us, not a great model in that respect. But it's probably also a reason why there really have been no new entrants, because they see just how difficult it would be to create what we've created. And there's a bunch of other models. If you're really into coaching people, why don't we do this online, as you mentioned?
Yeah. Why haven't you done anything online yet?
Well, we actually, John Cameron and my son tried to get a business started called BLP. Business Leaders Project or something like that, and that sold it, and it was Johnny was involved with the marketing. Shout out Johnny. So and we were not successful at getting it going, but I think the biggest reason is that ultimately, in the end, you just have this model that just creates such great stuff, and it's really hard to get out of it. Like Devin created all this incredible content, okay, and he did that like working really hard around all the other things. So mostly it was just, instead of watching YouTube or doing silly stuff, he'd get in and mic up and do all the stuff. So we had the content prepared. And then John tried to do it around other things he was doing, and he took actually a smaller team to do it. But ultimately, it's really difficult to go focus on a small thing when you've already got something that's going so well. And it's ultimately a big reason why big companies get disrupted. Right? So really, you could argue that, wow, we're being disrupted by all these other companies that are doing these other cool things to train young entrepreneurs, and that would be fair. But we're really proud of what we have. It is totally rocking our world. We can't believe that we are where we are. And so So it's like, let's just keep sticking to the knitting, let's just keep doing this better and better and better. So that would speak to I think we did try, because we have other really successful alumni, James Fedek, Amr Abu Shakra, who are running similar type businesses online. So we know the model, like literally they've told us, so we but it's every moment you're not focused on what you should be focused, or what the prime number one thing is, it's impacting what it is.
No, fair enough.
Yeah. I think what you guys have is really unique, actually.
Thank you.
As someone who, through university, like I was that guy who was like looking for those online programs, like looking for mentors. Like I was always into entrepreneurship. Yeah. And when I came across StudentWorks, I didn't even realize it at the time when I was originally a production manager. Yeah. Within another friend's business. Yes. But the first year where I actually came to January training and like met the community and like really got like an inside look at the program and started going through the motions, I was like, oh man, like this is it. Like this is what I've been looking for, and it was definitely been like a crazy experience. Yeah. I'm curious, like, obviously there's a lot of things you guys teach, and when you say like business or entrepreneurship, it's a very like all-encompassing term for a bunch of different skills. Yes. And I'm curious, what do you think are like the biggest skills that you guys teach in StudentWorks?
Yeah, that's a big question. So one of the things, like if I think about, let's look back and I think about our alumni and what do they say that makes the biggest difference. That's what I'll call biggest, the most impactful. That's how I'm going to phrase that and choose that. So I mentioned Wil Phil the other day. Well, Wil Phil goes, I couldn't be where I was because they start you always, or sorry, so often they start you in business development. I'm calling software firms to see if they're interested in selling. And so I did really well there. And then he goes, I know I also now am selling why we should buy your company instead of Constellation Software, one of the best companies in the world, or this company, and what we can provide. Well, that's a sale. So we teach people how to sell. Okay, and you guys know that Closers podcast, right? So we teach people how to sell. I think that one of the biggest things we teach is integrity and accountability. And so I knew you guys would be on time today, right? You guys knew I would be on time. You guys knew this would be workable. And so we teach integrity. We hold people to account. That makes us really weird, but we do it in a really non-morality, really, really powerful way so that people get, I want to be my word in my life. I want to have a really fantastic life. And we link that to being their word and integrity. So those would be probably, and then we teach them philosophy / mindset. To me, I think that would be probably my third thing is how to frame the world, how to look at the world. I think, having a mentor, as you mentioned, like fortunately I had a really great mentor. My father was a really fantastic mentor for me. He was chairman of Faskins, one of the largest law firms in Canada. He was just a incredibly high level of integrity. He understood how the world worked. And not many people really do, right? And people maybe just think, oh, it's unfair out there. Well, that's true. it's unfair out there, but here's the levers that get pushed for you to have a really wonderful success. And by the way, that's one of the things I share in our program is life's unfair. And we have consistently shown people how to be tremendously successful, to be in the top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5% of income earners who come out of our program. And we've consistently been able to do that. And so not being upset at it, but actually knowing these are the things we need to do to be really powerfully successful. So I'll pick 3 because the power of 3, that's a good thing. So those 3 things: sales, integrity, philosophy / mindset, and there's so much there that we teach and continue to teach.
Interesting. I'm very interested in the philosophy and mindset part of things because Will and I just got back from Las Vegas, and just being in a room full of people who are also entrepreneurs and running businesses, I'm starting to realize slowly is that like people aren't necessarily like different or better. It's just like the perspective or the lens at which they see a problem is higher level. Yes. And I think what StudentWorks taught me and is teaching a lot of people is just like how, like the lens that you need to view business problems through and how to look at it. Have you guys always been focused on that side of the business and teaching philosophy, or did you guys not do that and then at one point you started doing that? Like how has that impacted operator success?
So we have always taught it. We have always been a believer in it. But when I was your age, the self-development part of a bookstore was literally the size of the couch. You know, there were that many books to read, and there was nothing free on the. Well, was there an internet back then? I know, you know. So in the 80s, but anyhow, so there's nothing accessible that was there for people. And then I remember there were tapes. I could rent tapes or buy tapes and drive around and listen to things. But so first of all, the content grew and grew and grew. So we had more and more to train. We understood more and more as we were learning. And then, you know, to credit Pat Lalonde, you know, I'm kind of the crazy visionary in the business. And then, you know, Helen, Patrick, Devin, my son are, you know, well, that and also way more strategic, way more, well, how do we share what Dad's saying? Not, you know, not that I can't communicate well verbally, but how do we put that in a package so people can understand it? And how do we package it so we can train it consistently? So I think, you know, and some of the models, like in a bunch of them, particularly Pat created, but really a lot of it was, oh, look at that. Let's take that, package it, and boom. Let's take that, package it, boom. So a whole bunch of it was repackaging, and even what you were commenting on is all these online training programs. Like, wow, there's something. Oh, let's go take that. That is so in line with what we're doing here. So I think we just got better and better at training it for sure. So our philosophies became more clear, and like every training now, Patrick does a mindset talk and teaches all sorts of different concepts of mindset. So it's got, in total, it's easily 8 hours of real material. And then there's more things that we talk about. So it's a big part of the program.
Mm-hmm. One thing that you were talking about is like the value of integrity.
Yes.
And you mentioned like being on time, which obviously is like a huge piece of it. One thing that I've sort of been realizing as I'm now going to like basically coach my team, and I for whatever reason didn't realize it as much last year when I was just doing the things myself, but it's really like a pay-to-play system or pay-to-win system where you're paying with your time.
Right.
And so one thing that becomes glaringly obvious now that I'm sort of like in a coaching role is the way that people think of business as risky, right? It's like, oh, it might work, it might not. And obviously StudentWorks, having been around for like, 45 years or whatever, it's like, hey, these are the metrics.
Yes.
All you have to do is this, and this. It's like, if you knock on doors for this many hours, if you set up appointments for this many hours, you will win.
Yes.
And so a lot of what coaching...
And again, as long as we teach you and you can gain the skills to do it, but largely they're not failing in those things. But just for someone listening, what do you mean? Well, no, we'll teach you. This isn't really super hard stuff. And even there, I don't know what your closing rate, maybe 80% or higher, but our average is 60 on the painting side. And, so it's like, so someone who's not as good, 40, you'll still win.
Yeah.
Yes.
And right. By the way, for context, 60% is twice the industry average.
I know.
About 30%.
Because we're really good.
So that's really good. So obviously we do want to like optimize like within those inputs.
Yes.
But I think people focus like 90% on like optimizing, and they're like, how do I learn? How do I get better? And it's like, well, you just have to do.
Yeah.
And so when it comes to like integrity, a lot of it is just like, hey, this is what I'm going to do this week.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the week, it's like, did you do this? Yes or no?
Yeah.
If yes, great. Let's do it again.
Yeah.
And let's continue to work on what we're doing within those inputs and, get those like small percentages. And if no, that's when it's like, okay, like what happened?
Yeah.
How can we address that? And it actually is a lot more simple than, this whole business is risky and, there's like morality attached to it. It's more just like, hey, this is what we want. This is how we get there. This is what I think, in my opinion, that's what StudentWorks does, is they give you the exact roadmap.
Yes.
And then you just need to like plug and play.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Well, it's one of those things where I think people who really know what they do, they see the truth beyond the complexity, right? So it's very simply, there's integrity, and so there's two things. Will I do the plan that I set up? We commit, minimum commitment for our students joining our program is 15 hours minimum. very few only put 15 hours. Very few.
15 hours
Most,
a week.
A week in the preseason. Most are 25 and more. So around full-time school, that's what the commitment is. So it's, and we hold people accountable. We tell them, ask them a whole bunch of times, will you be, commit to that? And so we know that 15 hours, and then the other piece is just it's skill development. And so it's like getting people, and it is possible that we make a bad decision, but it's just really, really, like, we screen so many people. It's, and we just know what we're looking for. But it's almost always sitting on the other side. They just end up not doing what they say they're going to do. And again, it's like, I'm an NBA basketball fan. So if you look at NBA basketball players, they all have their genetic freaks, right? They're just genetic freaks. And so if you make the NBA, do they show up? Do they learn the skills to be able to be that? And the players who are the best in the world are so committed, so hardworking, so the same thing shows up in business is I'm committed. And then it's interesting as well, like, there's different layers of integrity. Okay, so the first layer of the integrity is really simple. Did I show up on time? Did I set up a schedule to go canvassing when I said I was going to do, calling when I said I was going to do? That's the most simple level of integrity. The higher levels of integrity is, when I showed up, am I showing up fully? Am I got my game face on? I know in your podcast with me, you went, it's a 7 days. Every day's the same. I'm showing up. Will Braun's showing up, right? We're ready. Like, we're doing this podcast. We're ready. We're not going to fall asleep in the podcast. We're ready. We're going to do our best. We're going to perform at our highest possible level. So how many of the hours you're putting in your business are like that? Okay. And so for me, the vast majority of my days, the vast majority of the time I put in my business are like that. I don't show up like not Chris Thomson. So that's the next level of integrity. So you combine doing what I'm saying, you combine a high level of skill set and then the highest level of integrity, and that gives you the best possible outcomes.
Speaking of Chris Thomson,
yeah.
I know there's a lot to talk about the Student Works Management Program and all that stuff, but I would love to know a little bit more about you.
Sure.
And maybe your journey in, now basically running, obviously a $30+ million company and all the things you have going on right now. And what did it look like for you? Like, just take us through like your origin story, Chris.
Sure. So I was asked, what was Chris before Student Works? That's what I was asked on my podcast. So I was an athlete. I was pretty good student, lots of friends, social, outgoing, very entrepreneurial. I was an elite swimmer. So I couldn't make money. I didn't like the idea of asking for mom and dad for money. So I remember coming to dad and saying, how can I make money? I can't get a part-time job. And he said, well, hey, what about snow shoveling? What about cutting lawns? So basically that's what I did. And then over time, I actually developed a lawn cutting business into my first year of university, where I was making $8,000, which in today's dollars is probably $25,000, $30,000. I had teams underneath me, and I really was running a very good business. But I could see that was a top. Like, I shouldn't say a top. I didn't know how to go any further.
Yeah.
Like, I would show up on time. I would smile. I could easily sell people on the size of jobs they had, and high integrity and all those different types of things. But I didn't know what to do next. So I also love to run parties. So I still do our big Mexico parties, rafting parties. But I got the opportunity to run an orientation at St. Mike's U of T. So huge. Yeah, back in the day, we did orientations right. Yes, there was lots more fun and drinking and misbehaving. So than now orientation. But the person I ran it with, her husband was one of the co-founders of this business. His name's Helen Beeman. So he, at the time, the Student Works or Student Painters, we called it at the time. It was in year 4. They were doing $650,000 from the business. And so that year they had 5 student operators. The first year 1, then 2, then 5. So it was year 3. And so he approached me after working together during the orientation because he had previously run it 2 years ago. So he was kind of our coach, our mentor in running the orientation. And we developed a great relationship. And so I was like, yeah, like I gave the business to my brothers, and I should have sold it, but anyhow, taking a percentage of the profit or something, but no idea. But I went and started running this business, and then I bumped into all sorts of challenges, all sorts of difficulties that I was not having. Just we didn't train people as well. There wasn't as much coaching. Helmut actually coached everybody. I didn't make my real district manager until
just
middle
to
of May.
clarify, you were working as an operator, not as
An operator.
Okay.
Yes, I was an operator.
Yeah.
So I consider myself the 10th owner operator of StudentWorks, and so then I was one of the top operators. I came back. I was one of the top operators. Then I became a coach. Back there, the coaches only worked for 2 months. They helped set people up in the preseason, and just May and June, I went to Europe. Then I did something else, and then I came back, and I was one of the first full-time coaches in the business. There are 3 of us. I was one of the first full-time coaches. I excelled. The company was growing like a hockey stick, like we were growing across North America, and I became a partner in 1989. Okay, so and then in 1990, 1991, 1992, the economy started to really go sideways. The GST came in. There were some real shifts. My partner, Helmut, the majority partner, bought too big a house, got extended, and he basically needed to sell all the parts of the business. Sell the West Coast, sell Michigan, sell California, sell Ontario, and so I bought the business. Sell Quebec, but Quebec failed, and then later on I took over Quebec and I took over the East Coast over time. So in 1993, I bought the business. I actually had a decision, I remember, in 1993, because really it failed. The business had failed. So I had the opportunity to just go start again and just, create the IP myself, and I knew the IP, I could just create the IP myself. I could just go do something else.
Yeah.
Go do something else and just leave this. Or do a deal with Helmut, and I paid him out over time. He actually helped me finance the business because, as I talked about, it's very expensive. So he'd actually loan me money every year to help get the business through, and especially that first year, he loaned me a chunk of money, and that's what I chose to do. Really happy I did, I think it was the right decision.
So that was, sorry, what year was it?
1993, 89, I became a partner. 1993, I was 30. I bought the business.
And how many operators were there when you bought it? In your section of it?
We basically were in the 100 to 120 operaters.
Okay, so
we're significant, but and remember, it's important to sort of remember it's the biggest thing that determines the how much revenue we do is the average wage, and then the cost of paint. And then so the average wage was way lower, the cost of paint was way lower. But we basically bumped up and down around $2.8 million to $3.3 million for really quite a number of years. Which in today's dollars, definitely easily 6 or something. But we really struggled. We're doing a good job. And the people who were winning in the program were really winning. There were people not winning in the program, and we didn't have good solutions around that. Meaning we weren't identifying them earlier and having them do something else in a proactive way. So, or we weren't identifying people as well. At the time, we couldn't afford the predictive index program that we have, which costs like $15,000 a year. So there's no way we could afford that. Now we can, and it's that was a big part of it. If we look at the key things that made a difference for our growth, one of them was that decision. Let's stop recruiting people in January, February, March. And every year we would get tricked because we would recruit a rock star in February who went and won. See, it works. No, they're a rock star. And we would have been better off if we could have making them a sales manager or production manager. We didn't have that model back then, but you know, no, wait, and maybe we'll lose you. But as soon as we did that, our averages went up 25 to 30%. Wow. And then they just continued to. You know, that decision was huge. We built a database. Databases back then were really rare, really expensive. We got a guy, Adam Crandall. Shout out Adam Crandall. Well done. He built our first database for free. He did it while in school, and then later on charged us update fees and things like that. Then later on, Steve Lachance built the next one. Stephen Lachance, shout out Stephen. And that year, our business grew $2.8 million because the existing Simon, as you know, is like a scoreboard, a running scoreboard. So operators all of a sudden could see where they are every moment of every day. And so the competitiveness of operators just had it charging up the leaderboard. And that wasn't the old model was like once a week we put the stats in. Yeah. And so it jumped in its capacity, and it existed on a phone where before it was just existed on the web. Other things that made a difference really improved systemization. You know, again, I'm a visionary. I'm a trainer, a recruiter, a coach. Really, really good in those things. I am not great at systemizing. So Andrew Britnell, kind enough at West, gave us his systems. We had systems, but they were kind of the next level systems, and that really helped us jump to the next level. Now, by the way, our systems are just next level of where they were, and I'm sure the West Coast are as well. But we've really jumped on that because we have a whole bunch of systemizers in the business, especially Pat and Devin, who have continued to improve the models. And as I like to say, we really stand on the shoulders of all sorts of amazing people who just continue to improve the business. You know, other big distinctions in the business is we you know, really for years, the internet was just, if anything, it just hurt us. There was, you know, we'd have bad things written and we didn't know what to do. And we didn't put good things on it. So now the internet is our friend. You know, LinkedIn recruits all sorts of people for us. Facebook, we get millions of dollars worth of business from it. We have a fantastic brand on all these brand ranking services because we have our clients, we have our operators go and tell them all the great things about us. So these are the things that we did and we learned. You know, and again, you know, speaking about Chris Thomson around this, these are things that Chris Thomson didn't know. These are, you know, not being a digital native, you don't know these things. So you have to really be aware why it matters. And I think it's one of the reasons why businesses fail, because older people, you know, don't know what matters, right? And they don't know that this really matters in the minds of students and or just the communities now doing this. And so and when it you know, when it happens, not complaining. Like I still remember what's the site? Homestars. Like, you know, one of the things all businesses should do is, you know, Google their name, but especially Google the brand on a regular basis, you know, incognito mode, what's showing up for people. And all of a sudden one day on the first page of Homestars showed up with 12 reviews and a 2.4 thing. And we're like, oh my God, like what? Like, and never knew it existed. And all of a sudden it's on the first page of our thing. So we called Homestars, and it's kind of funny, small world, of course. The person who picked up the phone, I knew her brother, and it was like, okay, what are we going to do to fix this? How does this work? Anyhow, here's what you need to do. So we're a customer of Homestars, and now we have fantastic ratings, and just again highlight to customers this is what it is. She actually commented that there were a bunch of brands out there who just wouldn't respond, who would complain. You know, again, like there's taking 100% responsibility, 100% accountability versus, you know, complaining. The world doesn't work the way it used to. This is unfair. No, we just got to change.
So, Chris, one thing, by the way, I think I noticed a lot of like humility in general in the way you speak and just like giving credit to other people, which I think is amazing. But I'm curious, so basically, you're taking over the business, back in the early 90s, it's doing about 3 million, and now you guys are doing, north of 30 million.
So how did we get there?
Yeah, what was like, and especially in the early days, like when you went from like, 3 to 10, like what actual activities like were you doing as the person who's running the company, like on a day-to-day to actually inspire that growth?
Yeah, okay. So maybe not as inspiring. So and I think this is a good lesson is the business really was flat for a long period of time into the early 2000s. I couldn't figure out how to grow it. Again, I'm a great recruiter, a great coach, a great trainer, and I couldn't figure out what else to do. And Andrew Britnell, my good friend, and he's passed on, but he shared a number of things. Stop recruiting, and then let's build Simon together, and then here's some systems. There might have been a couple other things. I remember he used to say 5. I think there are really 3 that really matter. And so all of a sudden our business started growing, and we got ourselves up to 5 million. But to sort of share, what was I doing there? Well, one of the things I was doing was looking to learn. So I joined organizations like YEO, now called the Entrepreneurs Organization. I became chapter president. I got involved, and I was looking to learn more. I also started to make extra income as a facilitator and a trainer. So, which I think long term was a good thing because I'm a better trainer as a result of all the thousands of hours that I did it, but I would have been way better off, like if I had the wisdom now to go back then. Wow, Will, we would have created a whole lot more winning entrepreneurs. But that's not how life works. So there were a lot of lessons and a lot of kind of really spinning my wheels, or not at the highest level. So I have a list of businesses I started and failed at. We have one enormous business we started and failed at, which was Home Depot. So. Andrew McGilvery, shout out Andrew, he's a rock star. We started a professional painting business. We had the idea, well, why don't we do this? This makes sense. And eventually it morphed into partnering with Home Depot. And we went from $300,000 to $26 million in 5 years.
Jeez.
So we basically became the national supplier. Then we partner up with some really good friends who formerly were part of our network, the business from California. And we basically partnered with them, and we grew 300,000 to 26 million. And then we bumped into the 2008 financial crisis, and it failed. But more than that, the model just wasn't right. More than that as well, it was the final sword in the side, or stop this, Chris. Like, you are meant to do this business fully. Don't do anything else. Just totally focus on this. And that distraction hurt my business, because we grew up to like 5.5 million, and then we fell down to 4. And a huge part of it was because I was distracted. My coach team was distracted. Because I was distracted, things started fraying in the business. And so again, I've had the experience in my life of growing a business that just every year just keeps growing and growing and growing. We've been doing that really consistently now for really almost since 2008. Not that every year we've put more volume in through the business, but every year you can see this business is a better business. There was a pandemic, or there are different things that happen sometimes that made it, maybe the volume didn't change, but every year we could say we were better. If it's 14 years, 12 out of 14, we've grown. And so I've grown that, and then I've been in situations where you start going backwards, and that's where, as an entrepreneur, it's the hardest possible thing. You're really in a doom loop. All businesses are momentum based, and so things are going against you, and so you just pick up. And so in those times, I actually went back to actually managing a team in the field, and that was actually a great call. We went and just then my team in the field ended up being top performers. A bunch of them became future coaches, and so it's just one more. It's all of a sudden you put another A coach at the top of your list, right? So that was something we did. But to jump, one of the big transitions was we lost that money. we crystallized a huge investment that went sideways. And then it was like, wow, this is a problem. My wife, who did Ivy at Western, never really ever considered her coming in and running the business. Never really thought like what an Ivy degree does, what a business degree does. I'm a history student, and so it's one of the problems that I think all people have is you don't know what you don't know. So for me, I didn't really understand, finance and structures and, I understand a little bit of law because of dad, but managing an office and what was important, all these things that you think is really not so important in a business degree. It is. And I knew a lot of small business, but as the business grew, it was basically bumping into my ceiling of complexity. So my wife came in over time, became really the CEO, and that was an enormous change. Just an enormous change. Started making more money. One of the biggest things we did was we changed the structure for coaches. And they just, like early on in our business, the coaches made really, really great money compared to others. And then that kind of dissipated. Again, as you start to go into doom loop, your business starts not doing as well. Well, we made a shift. And coaches started making way more money or more money, and then more money, and then more money, and just better and better people came on who would crush the comp plan and make more. Mm-hmm. And we'd have $1 million DMs, and then $2 million DMs, and now we have $4 million DMs. We call them coaches. Back in the day, we used to call them district managers, coaches who run teams. So that was a huge component of changing the business. So for me, what I started to do as we started getting more and more through this, really it was Helen took more and more of the things that I was barely competent at or incompetent at or kind of good at, and just would exclude me more and more and more. Okay. In the best possible light. It's like, Chris, go coach people. Chris, go motivate people. Chris, go recruit people. Chris, go, we started a podcast 5 years ago. That was significant. Chris, go connect with alumni, have more great alumni come to our trainings, do all the things that, Chris is really great at, and I'll take all this stuff. Mm. So that was a huge, huge part of our business, and the things that started to change. So 2008, we're doing $5 million. And that was kind of when all of a sudden we discovered the internet. I'm joking, but really it was like, oh my God, we got this bad, thing, and we can't get rid of it. And it's just there, and we don't have anything good. And so that made it hard to recruit because people go look at it. And so then we all of a sudden started building, put this up. And that just took a while to finally start shifting. And then we one of the things that we did actually was, for the first time ever and the only time we actually went back and recruited people who left the program to come back and be a coach for us. That's how desperate we are for now coaches. Now I do 30 coaches interviews to find 7. Yeah. And the coaches are the best veterans who in the field. That's where we are now. So it's. Yeah, so that, I'm not sure if that answered your complete question, but it kind of gets to where, every year we keep doing things to build the business.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of what I heard as well is you just recognize what your strengths and weaknesses are.
Yes.
And you found people who had strengths where you had weaknesses. Yeah. And you were able to just be the fuel on the fire in terms of the visionary and the coaching and the people side of things. And then you found it's like the visionary integrator kind of role. So and it sounds like Helen was the integrator for you.
Yes.
She had more of those finance, those administration, organizational pieces.
And another thing she has is she just has this incredible commitment to, it has to be done right. It has to be done right. For me, there's a lot of gray in life. Well, not integrity, but really, and in many ways, it's integrity at the highest level. How do we get everyone to do this? And for me, I just had a hard time even understanding how do we get everyone to do it. She'd figure out ways to do it, and then it was like, we should mention that. I love that. Wow, what a great plan. And so she was just really great at doing that, and it just made all the difference. And you're right. It's I didn't know I needed somebody like that. Now it's very clear. There was no way I would run something unless I had somebody doing those things. And I did know what I was great at, but it's again, it's just these blind spots that exist for people. I think it's more apparent now because of just all the knowledge running around. You know, just you know, and again, it's great to go and do personality profiles to understand. It's great to go and sort of go do assessments of other people, what you do. One of the problems is I show up looking better than I am, and I just don't, not out of humility, but you know, my best way of showing up is just having a conversation with people. So people assume I know a bunch of things that I don't know, and I don't know I didn't know that, right? So it was difficult for me to discover these things that I didn't know.
Mm-hmm. I'm curious now at this point in the business, I don't want to over assume, but it looks as if you've maybe taken a little bit more of a step back from the leadership team and you're letting Devin and potentially Helen and the coaches take more of an active role. I'm sure you're still very invested in StudentWorks. What are your goals right now for the business in terms of like growth and in terms of like what would you want it to morph into over the next potentially decade?
Yeah, so we had a like there's no such thing as balance. You know, there's no such thing as balance. So you know, Helen and I definitely had the train, the car, everything, you know, on one side of the boat and the road, and that was working really hard to make this right, and then you know, focused on it. We had a health scare last year, you know, had cancer. I'm in full remission, but and I got a great type of cancer. But it's true. It's true. So last year, I stepped back on purpose, or just because that was the thing to do. Did 6 months of chemo, and we basically made a decision. I'll never take coaches again, manage people again in the business. And so you're right. Hand more and more off to Devin, to Patrick, to Luke, to other senior leaders in the business. And it was really kind of a wake-up call to say, we've done well enough. We know this business is going to continue to crush it for years and years and years. So there's, you know, of course, we want to live really, really well the rest of our lives. So it's not like we want to, you know, so it's kind of like, okay, the money's dealt with, and now we want to just really love and enjoy our life. So I'm coaching, I'm training, I'm doing a lot of the interviews in the business, actually the vast majority of the interviews. One of the cool things with Zoom is it's really, really super easy to do them. I don't have to travel as much as I did.
We are experiencing technical difficulties. The sound quality for the rest of the episode is not great. The content is still good though. We are new to this and pretty busy running our businesses, so thanks for understanding.
Ho, ho, ho. But it sounds like you're able to like recognize like, hey, I've got the personal money I need.
Yeah.
Like, I'm all good there.
Yeah.
And so now it's just about like my mission, what keeps me going every day. And that doesn't necessarily mean making more money with the company.
Yes.
It means just doing a better job, building relationships. And I think you have a bit of like a mission statement, which is like you want to create what, 1,000 millionaires?
1,000 millionaires. Yeah, that's my big, hairy, audacious goal. Yeah, and again, when we have something, you know, that's something we can talk about when you're really just, you know, you're really committed to what you're doing and what it's giving. You know, obviously your business model has to give, but so that it gets back. So there's a model so that you know, and as we create wins in the world, what profit comes back to you. That's wonderful. But when that is actually just happening, so I've always felt like this is really working, and it was kind of cool. I had Andy Geshe on my podcast the other day. He's a really successful Remax broker in the Waterloo area. He worked in the early 2000s with me. So when our business was just, you know, pretty good business, like, you know, I was, you know, but he goes, Chris, I just remember how helpful you were. And I just remember you really just cared about people. And that's why I came back on the podcast. And he goes, I remember I was struggling, trying to find a role. And you just went and spent extra time with me 3-4 years after. And I went, yeah. Like, that's just, you know, what I want to do, right? Like, I, you know, for my alumni, I'm just like, hey, I'm available, you know, and I talk to a bunch of alumni, and some obviously are my friends, so that's kind of different, but I talk to alumni a bunch of times, and just, I care, and one of the reasons I care is because the game I'm playing is they're winning, I'm winning. I know I don't get any money, but I still feel like, because there's all sorts of ways we win in life, right? And so if people are just so connected to, again, monetary winning, it's kind of soulless, you know, like it's like, how are we helping people? And then And then again, a lot of people say, how can you still be so motivated at 60? Or they ask me that at 50 or 40. And it's a grind what we do. It's a grind going out and recreating your business. And it used to take even more to recreate a business. Now half of our people return every year. And then a whole chunk of them, about 70, 80 operators come back through referral. So we just have millions of dollars worth of business every year that we know, we're just gonna make a whole bunch of money next year and create all sorts of value. But that was not the way it was. It was like, let's gear up, let's go do some reps, go work hard. Yeah. But now we do that plus it. But when you're really tied to helping your people, and so I'm kind of riffing a little bit, but some of the things that we do as a coaching team is we want to be our operator's biggest fan. Okay, so that's something that is a premise in our business. And I'm regularly, I'll come back on our coaches call, many coaches call, are we being our biggest fan? And always making sure that we're not pushing too hard or manipulating or whatever as a coach, that no, we want to be their biggest fan. Like I saw actually on Netflix, they've got a group of coaches who talk on Netflix. It's called The Players or something, but Serena Williams' coach was on it, and he basically described one of his early players, and he goes, I felt like his father, and then he blew it one time, and the player had some ideas that really didn't make sense, but he pushed too hard, he was aggressive, he was nasty, or whatever, however you described it, and he goes, I regret that, and not regret because you learn from it, but that was the wrong thing, and I don't have that relationship, and I still feel he's like my son, and you go, how open and honest. I love that, but it's like we always want to be our operator's biggest fan. We just and we can hold them to a really strong account while being their biggest fan, and say, Will, this week wasn't the best week, and I know you're accountable to this. And so how do we keep doing that? But part of it is just having that premise, having just a big view of what people want to be. And then also part of that is also having that part of the conversation. So very early on, one of the things, I'm not recruiting someone is not coming to our company if they don't have a big view of their life. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean I want to be this or I want to be that, but they have to, I'm not sure what I want to be, but I want it to be a lot. I want to really do a lot. I want to contribute a lot, or I want to earn a lot. So that's something we're really, that's we don't want if they don't have that. And then that's something that we're calling upon in our coaching. And I know one of the things we talked off, at a break was just integrity. And I always I think we've really, over the years, over the decades, gotten really, really good at coaching integrity, at coaching when people don't do what they say. And so early on, we did not do it as well. Early on, I'm sure there was a lot of morality or a lot of make wrong. And so what that means is this is very common in industry is, well, first of all, either they won't do it, okay, and they won't hold people accountable to what they're supposed to do, or they'll do it in such a way, well, Phil, you're supposed to do this, you didn't do this, what's wrong, and that's not good enough, and it's that. So naturally, what will happen is naturally, I think it's pretty natural, is people will throw sand about what they did, they'll cloud it, or they'll lie. Well, oh no, I did 8 hours, or I did this, or I did that, because they don't want to feel bad. They're already making themselves feel bad. And so that one of the biggest challenges of the coach is then find out what that actually happened. I don't know what happened because they're not telling the truth. So we basically, as this is what we attempt to do. And one of the reasons I listen to coaching calls is every week we set out a really great plan. And I want to go do X, I want to do Y. So some of them are metrics. This is how much we want to book. This is how much we want to produce. This is how much, we want to earn. But then also these are the things I'm committing to do. I'm committed to do 10 hours of marketing this week. I'm committed to do 5 hours of calling or whatever. And then we're actually more interested, and it's true, in the process goals. Did you do those 10 hours of marketing? Did you do those 5 hours of calling? And we'll actually ask, so when did you get out of the car? Like, and we won't do this, and as the season goes on, but we're training it, and we have an app called Map My Run, and people actually, pushed it on, then I walked, and it actually shows, and so then people can really look at it. And again, we're not doing it on a, shake your head at will. It's like, how did it go? Were you able to accomplish what you committed to? And we expect that people won't be able to initially. Like of course, many times they do. And what I mean by not accomplish it is not accomplish all of it, right? Like, very rarely are people going to zero out or anything like that. But it's like, is it 75%? Is it 85%? 95%? And so again, the lower level of integrity, not the higher level of integrity, but the lower level of integrity, are they doing what they say? So go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask, it seems like you've described the thing that you should not do, which is like shame people and kind of like hold them, like make them feel bad about it, or make them feel the urge to lie because you're gonna like reprimand them. Like, how would you approach a conversation when someone is out of integrity or they didn't do what they said they were going to do? Like, what's your mindset? What's the mindset you teach for a coach going into that?
Awesome question. So when, like, the most important thing is they need to know we're their biggest fan. They need to know that our job, and we will hold them accountable. So one of the things we do is actually at our operator training, in front of, it's pretty intimidating, in front of 200 people. We have 2 huge trainings, 200 people. We basically hold people accountable on the second day of training. Did someone come late, or did someone not do their homework? And we basically, and a lot of times no one will come late, but there's always someone who doesn't do their homework. And I'll be up there and I'll say, so, is there anybody who didn't complete their homework? Please put your hand up. And then, now, just when I mean complete your homework, I mean complete your homework in its absolutely entirety. Did you do absolutely everything you know to do and you think you should have done? And then more people. And I say, well, could these people ever stand up? And thank you very much for being accountable. And this is great. And we're weird because we do this and get used to it, and we hold people accountable in a great way. So I'm going to request, would someone be willing to restore their integrity in front of the group, so that so that everyone sees how this works, that there's nothing wrong about it, that we're supportive about it, and that we can learn from this process. And then someone will hold their hand up, and by the way, almost always that person ends up, going to Mexico as a top performer. Like, they get it, they're like, okay, and that's great, because they see us as, these people are great coaches. They're looking for the best for me, and so I'm up and I said, okay, David, Samantha, what was your promise? Well, I made a promise to complete my homework. Okay, and what did you do? I didn't complete my homework. Sometimes they'll give reasons, and no. So I didn't complete my homework. Wonderful. Okay, so let's talk about, what are the impacts of you not completing your homework? And sometimes they'll say, oh, well, we're doing this. Oh, no, we're coaching, so we love coaching. No, this is perfect. So what are the impacts? Okay, well, I won't be as prepared in my group when we take up the homework. Okay, yeah. I won't be able to maybe assist the other people because I'll be further behind. Maybe the coach needs to take more time with me, and I'm just I'll riff through a bunch of potential impacts. And then those are kind of the first order consequences, as we like to talk about. Well, what about the second order consequences of these things? Well, the second order consequences are, well, if I don't know how to do an estimate, I'm going to be giving bad estimates to my team. They're going to turn over. They're not going to like my job. It's going to hurt the brand. I'm not going to run a profitable business. Or maybe I'm giving too high estimates, so I'm not going to be able to book work. So that's a real problem. Okay, what about the long-term estimates? Well, if I kind of run my life this way, not making commitments, saying I'm going to do stuff, not doing the homework of things, how could I work in a really successful company? Imagine I get really good and I get into sales, and I could work in a tech company or a medical company, and I don't know my product. like, what would that work like? I couldn't get that job. I would lose my job. So we start to sort of see all the different impacts of this, and they're drawing this out. And so, okay, so that's great. That seems to be a lot. And obviously we don't go, well, so do you want that, Phil? No, people naturally go, wow, with all those impacts, I don't want that, but we're not saying that. Mm-hmm. And then we go, okay, what could you do? What structures could you put into place so that you're more reliable to do your homework? Okay, and not just here, but in the future. Okay, well, one of the things I did was I went back, and then there was, because our trainings are really packed, like they're up, the training starts at 7:30 in the morning, or people are heading to training, or people arrive at 8 to start at 8:30, then there's homework, then there's an event. So it's like, gee, when I leave here, I'm gonna go do my homework immediately. Mm-hmm. Before I hit the gym, before I eat, or what these different things they see, and then what about in the future? Well, I should really make sure I have a reminder of it. And so over time, people really start to see, number one, when we say we're going to do something, that's really easy, because a lot of people say, hey, Phil, let's do lunch. Mm-hmm. Well, that's no commitment to do lunch, unless it's in our calendar, or Phil, I've got it in my calendar to call you at March 1st to talk and to schedule a lunch. It's no lunch, right? Like, people talk that way all the time. And so their words are meaningless, mm-hmm. right? And so it's like, let's make commitments. So when we make a commitment, we're really aware of the words we say, and then we write them down, and then we get assurance with somebody else. And then there's a follow-up. Like, one of the other things is if you've made a commitment to something and it's not in your normal schedule, maybe the night before, there's a reminder that, all right, I'm doing that kind of out of the ordinary thing. So these are the different structures people can put into place so that they're really reliable. So that's how we teach integrity. And over time, the conversations, a lot of times when people struggle, we're really having them try to see, what about their 40-year-old self? Do you think your 40-year-old self, and asking questions for them to see, what do you think your 40-year-old self, and you've already described, Phil, you want to be here, what do you think they'd be telling you now that you didn't come on time and you didn't do your plan? They go, yeah, he'd be kicking my butt. Like, there's just no way. And they're just really seeing that the person I want to become is not this, and I can do better, and I want to do better, and I'm going to do better. That's really what our integrity conversations are.
Yeah, I think what I've seen from this system of restoring integrity is really bridging the gap between your words and your thoughts and reality.
Yeah.
And I guess just to kind of summarize the process that you guys carry out, and that you give an example of that training, is hey, what's the commitment that you made?
Yeah.
Did you make it? Yes or no?
Yeah.
If no, if yes, great. There's no,
well, we wouldn't. So, or even what's, even the best, a good question would be the first question. So what was the promise you broke?
Right.
So yeah. I promised to be, so boom. And then what are the impacts? And then we like to say, and what else? And any other impacts?
Yeah.
Or what are the second order or third order consequences?
Yeah.
Or how would this show up in your business?
And so even just jumping back, earlier in the integrity restoration process, what typically happens is it's hey, did you make this commitment, or what was the commitment that you broke? And people's natural reaction is oh, this is why.
Yes.
These are the reasons. And I think one thing that is cool about StudentWorks is hey, it doesn't matter.
We break off. Yes.
Yeah, there's no one's fault. It's just
yes.
It's just aligning the reality with the words. And so I think one thing that I've been talking to Cam about, Cam is my energy coach,
awesome.
Who we're getting on the podcast next week.
Cam Russell.
Exactly, Cam
Another
Russell.
alumni, rock star. Yes.
Is when you're able to do that and you're able to be in integrity, it really gives your words power.
Yes.
Because there's so many people, and a great example is in StudentWorks, a bunch of rookies come in, they see these people running 200K rookie businesses, and they're like, I want to run a 200K business, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and you're getting all this dopamine, you're I'm going to do this, and then the reality hits, and it's okay, now we've given you the plan to hit this number, here's the weekly inputs, let's go execute. And that's where people kind of fall apart, because it's easy to talk and say and think, and it's a lot harder to actually just do.
Yeah.
So I think that's really a lot of what it is. It's just tying the words and the thoughts
Yeah.
to like the reality. And if you can bridge that gap, then all of a sudden when you say something, one, you're going to be more careful about what you say, because you know, like, hey, I don't want to be out of integrity. If I commit to something, I want to make sure I can do it. And two, you actually know how to do it, and you trust yourself to go and execute.
And also, all of a sudden, you can start saying outlandish like stuff, and you believe in yourself. Like, I remember being in Mexico, and Tigo's just like, "Hey guys, I'm gonna run a marathon this year."
Yeah.
And if I'm with like another group of friends and people who like I know aren't integrated, or I'm like, "Oh, yeah, sure, buddy, like enjoy your marathon."
Yeah.
But I'm looking at Tigo like, this guy's insane. He's actually gonna run a marathon.
And he's not built like he should run a marathon. Right? He's kind of the exact opposite frame. Like he's really strong and powerful, carrying a lot of muscles. That those people don't run marathons. Yeah. Tigo's gonna run a marathon because he put his word to it. I have no doubt he will run a marathon.
Yeah, 0% doubt. And he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm not gonna drink." I'm like, most people they, "Oh yeah, oh friends, oh I'm never drinking again." It's like, sure, buddy, you're gonna be next Saturday. You're gonna be drunk on your couch, falling asleep. And when Tigo says, "I'm not gonna drink," or when someone within this network who's built up their word and has integrity, and I know it and they know it, says, "I'm gonna not drink for a year," it's like, holy shit,
he's not gonna drink for a year. Yeah,
this guy's actually not gonna drink for a year.
Yeah. No, and even more, you know, when Elon Musk says, "I'm going to go build electric cars, and I'm going to go send ships to space." It's like that's really where integrity is. It's like this is the stuff we get to do in the world when we do what we say. And so it's like, again, we're teaching the lower level of integrity, and then it gets higher. You know, I've got my word on doing $30 million from the business this year. We've never done $30 million. That's an incredible thing. If you told me we were going to do $30 million from the business when I bought the business at 2.8, I'd say, no way. This is a student business. There's no way that would happen. But that's what we're going to do this year. So it's like you're able to put your word to more and more things.
Yeah, and I think another piece of the sort of integrity restoration that has been really key in what I've seen with myself, with my team, is actually taking a chance to look at the first, second, and third order consequences. Because a lot of the time, like for example, we did this exercise the other day, a couple of guys like showed up a few minutes late, and we were talking about it, and it's like, hey, in life, like you might go through life and you might show up late and no one says anything.
Yeah.
The consequences are still there.
Yes.
You're still holding up the meeting. People are still going to look at you differently.
Yeah.
You're still building a pattern.
Yeah.
Like there's all of these other things that are happening.
Yeah.
And when you are able to break the cycle and just address it and say, hey, this happened.
Yeah.
What are the impacts? And then you think about it and you start, okay, there's this, obviously we're missing some time in the meeting. Okay, people might start looking at me differently, and you go down the list of things and you're like, wow, is this something that I want in my life?
Yeah.
Most likely the answer is no. And then the final step is like, okay, what system can we put in place?
Yeah.
Because again, like people's initial reaction is like, oh, it's a morality thing. Like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like, I won't do it again. It's like, hey, there's nothing wrong with you.
Yeah.
We just want to make sure this is workable. We just want to get the best results for everybody. Yeah. So what system can we put in place? Mm-hmm. And let's actually do that. Like, is it setting an alarm for X amount of time before it happens? Like, let's set that alarm. Yeah. Let's see. And then, maybe next time something else breaks down and we're putting in a structure. And so we're building like a foundation so we can be in alignment with our word and actually hit, those outlandish goals that people say.
Yeah. And a company, one of the biggest reasons our company is so workable, and it doesn't just mean workable, we create a lot of value and profit, but it's a fun place to be, is the vast, like our trainings start on time, our calls start on time, so there's just this really, really high expectation. You're missing something. We're not waiting for you. How often do things, people just like companies just, we're going to give people a moment. We don't give any moments. It's just, we're going. And then our coaches, again, I don't know if this always happens. Our coaches restore integrity with them on the side. Mm-hmm. So you're late. Again, just having them restore integrity, having them get, we actually, in our coaches meeting, we actually have a sheet where we track the integrity. Are they late? Did they miss? And then we record all our calls so they can get the information that was discussed. But it's and nothing wrong. And there are impacts. Like one of the impacts is if someone can't operate at a high level of integrity in our coaches program, they won't continue to be a coach. Like it really just is for sure. Because one thing we like to say is, if people are willing to be late around us, or especially around me, there's for sure they're going to be late in other places, right? So it's like, where else is this sharing up in your world? So if you're late at the student work training, for sure you're late for customers. And that's going to cost you jobs. That's going to, people are going to, disrespect. A lot of times that shows up for people, and I've seen, my experience in life is the more and more successful people overwhelmingly have higher and higher levels of integrity. And unfortunately, with TV and, and shows and Netflix, and they love to show the entrepreneurial or really super successful serial killer, or just awful person. And not to say that there aren't awful people who are successful, but I really do believe that it's really difficult if you think about running a really successful business with low integrity. It's just really, really difficult, or to be a cheat, or to be, and not say they can't happen. It is harder for sure to go and make those things happen.
So something I'd love to ask you, Chris, because I think you'd have a really unique perspective on this. Obviously, you've seen it within yourself and being able to grow a company and your leadership team, but you've also been able to watch hundreds and hundreds, probably thousands at this point, of business owners go through the program and start as a student with no experience.
Yeah.
And even through the years, you've now seen people go through the program and have a certain level of success or not, and then go through life and have a certain level of success or not. And we just talked a lot about integrity and that being kind of one of the core components of people who are able to run successful businesses and be successful in their careers. I would love to hear from you. What are some of the other pieces that people maybe wouldn't expect in terms of what makes someone successful in their career in running a business? What are those other pieces? Obviously, integrity is very important.
Sure. Okay.
What else?
Yeah. Okay. So and what else? So basically, we got integrity, we got mindset and philosophy, and we've got what was the third one we had? Oh, sales. Yeah. So I think a big one is strategy. There's just no question. And by the way, our alumni have been really, really smart. So many of them have been really, really smart. Now, who knows? Obviously, those are the ones who bump back into me, or I see have success, but they're choosing industries that are growing. Well, that makes more sense than choosing an industry that's dying. But it's kind of interesting. Remind me to touch back on that, because that's a fun topic. But just strategy and doing setting up really, really unique and successful strategies. One of our really successful alumni, Chris O'Rourke, joined a company. It's doing the evaluation was $14 million, and he came in as the head of business development, and now is still the head of business development. And that company is now going to be selling soon. I expect it to be selling soon for $1.4 billion. So 100 bagger. And a huge part of it is Chris's just understanding of the strategy of it's a security business. It used to be called You See It. I should maybe put it in the notes or whatever. I can't remember. Lost the track of what the name is. But setting up different centers around the world to monitor the traffic. Basically, what they do is they do video surveillance of companies. Originally they got started in building homes and building buildings, and they'd have security guards. That if insurance companies wouldn't give you insurance unless you had a security guard. Well, that's valueless. The insurance guard's likely going to be sleeping. They're here. It's all over the place. Yeah. So basically, they put video monitoring. The cost of video monitoring is actually more expensive than a security guard, except the person who started You See It basically created this way to basically, when a deer came across or when someone came into the thing, that snapped. And people would watch to see, is this a problem? And what's the danger? They'd alert the police if there's a danger, so they stop crime, they stop theft, and they just drive the cost of security way down at a way cheaper price, and they've just got incredible brands building. So the strategy of what you're doing so matters. The space of what you're doing so matters. A huge part of it is enrollment, is creating a group of people who love to do what they're doing, enjoying what they're doing, having fun. Culture. What's enrollment and culture, right? We really win in that space. But companies, if you really think are going to do amazing things, you're working a lot of time there. So how do we have fun? Do you have top performer trips? Are you enjoying? Are you recognizing good performance? Are you being grateful? You mentioned humility earlier. Like, I really do believe the most successful people are really humble, and the reason is that it's if you think you're doing it, no one can do it at all on their own. Even Elon Musk, that super crazy brain, he can't do it all on his own, right? Like, and if you talk to him, he'll point out all sorts of other people. He's just so incredibly smart. But so it's just as a business gets bigger and bigger and bigger, just seeing everybody who's doing it, and then of course there's no question when people see that you're being and sharing everybody's success, they feel better. Right? Like there's Jim Collins talks about a level 5 leader. And I can't remember all the different levels to walk through, but I know a level 5 leader. A level 5 leader says there's a problem, look in the mirror, that's all about me. I got that, I'm responsible, here's what we're doing to fix it. And then something's great going, look out the window, see all my team, see the customers, see the community, see how everything's made that possible, see how, wow, we live in Canada, aren't we lucky? Like it's all here, and that's the best way to sort of look at success. So I guess there's two things. There's a strategy involved, but really when you feel it and you see it, then you go, well, of course, mm-hmm. It's like, it's. Now again, I was struggling around for a decade running a $2.8 million business on my own. It's a $30 million business. So something happened. It wasn't just me. And not that again, that's also not saying I know I'm really great at all sorts of things and I know the benefit I provide, and it's not coming from I'm not very good or anything like that. It's coming from this huge mosaic of all these factors that have done it.
Mm-hmm. So I've got a question for you just about what you touched on, and this is something that's sort of coming up for me, so kind of a selfish question.
Sure.
I'd love to hear your opinion on it. So I'm a big believer in extreme ownership, mm-hmm. And just like, hey, anything that's going wrong within my business is like my own fault, and it's my own
responsibility.
Responsibility.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
And so what's been coming up for me now that I'm really taking a look at more of a coaching role is I'm potentially having a bit of a harder time like navigating holding other people accountable. Because my natural reaction when like someone is late for a meeting is like, oh, like my bad, like I should have reminded you more, or like I should have, done X, Y, or Z to help you be more on time, or like, oh, you're not doing X, Y, Z, like I should step up more and train you more so that you feel more confident, so that you want to go out and do that more.
Awesome.
Which I think is great. I think it's a huge strength. And I also, as I'm navigating sort of more in the coaching role, I also see some potential trade-offs of that, or not like trade-offs, but I'm just wondering how you'd recommend going about like holding someone accountable and making it their responsibility for what they commit to, while also
how do we deal with these two paradigms?
Yes.
Wonderful. So one of the most, Barack Obama, I heard this first with Barack, is just being able to hold two things at the same time.
That
seem to be, look at you, so smart, good word, okay. So they're both true. So what we should do with the person who's late and what we should do with someone out of integrity is help them restore integrity and see where there is an opportunity for impacts and how to live the biggest life. And then away from them, okay, we're coaching ourselves and maybe getting coaching. How could I be holding them? What opportunity I have? They're not getting it. And by the way, we people don't come into Student Works understanding integrity or understanding their word. So we get it for them, or and sometimes never get it for them, and we're still like, and many times it's just add another brick, hopefully add another brick, hopefully add another brick. Just keep doing it. So just looking at ourselves to say what extra steps can I take in. So that's a really healthy process. What can I do? And we're always doing both. It's okay. How are we responsible, especially if. I know you have an event and a third of people don't show up. Like whoa, like break down. We just got and kind of I should say we laugh, but oh wow, something's going wrong when that many people. Like it's really easy. We have 200 people at training. It's very rarely where someone will come late, and so that's really easy to go. Okay, they need to, sort out their integrity. All of a sudden, a whole bunch of people come late. There's something we're doing. We're not coaching it well. We're not training it well. We're not doing something. So it's always good looking at both sides.
Cool.
And no, nothing wrong. No, we're bad or anything like that. Just taking that away. It's kind of fascinating because I said, mostly what people have been really successful, I've noticed from our alumni. Like if we look at our successful alumni, so many have been really successful in sales and marketing, business development. Like we teach business development incredibly well, and so we have had so many people do that, and real estate, and software as a service models, and medical sales, and B2B sales. The other thing is a lot of times people go into just natural extension of their careers, lawyers, engineers, those sorts of things that are following through, and then entrepreneurship. Those are probably the biggest, the big groups. The one neat thing about our business is, it's like I said, you should be in a growing business. Like our business really in many ways is a declining business, is a faltering business. Like ever since we joined, and I remember, Helmut, the co-founder of our business, he said, oh yeah, there's these old painters who are just, giving up, and there's nobody taking them over. And so really the numbers now are for every 100 tradespeople leaving the market every year, only 13 to 14 come in. So that's actually one of the reasons why our business has grown. So again, it's not just like there's a lot of things that we are doing, and I've talked about those, but there's this market condition that actually it's getting worse. Like people are leaving. So what's happening is there's all this building going on in Canada, and we need way more, and that's a real problem. Everyone knows that, right? There's not enough home building. And then so many contractors are being pulled into this space to get all that work done. Less and less people in our residential maintenance space. And that less and less competitors doing that, and less competitors doing window cleaning or painting, and so that's something that really has helped our model, which has been really fantastic. And again, it's a long-term thing, so that's something as well that this isn't going to replace itself. This isn't going to change. Obviously there's long-term demographics here as well, so that's a nice thing for us. So
yeah. Well, there's definitely also. So if every 5 or 6 people that leave, one person enters, there's still the same number of homes, still the same number of paintings. So the demand is here, and the supply is going down, which just means more opportunity, easier to close jobs, higher prices, more profit, more opportunity. And I think the other piece of it as well that's interesting is, AI is coming in, and it's really helping with a lot of online jobs, especially through COVID, people working online, doing video editing or different things that are now being taken or at least helped and reducing the manpower needed by technology. Whereas when it comes to painting, that's not really anywhere in the close horizon.
Well, one of my good friends, Russ Littler, he created a really successful company called The Employment News, and many other successful companies. But he says that there's all sorts of robots out there, Google robots out there that are not that far away. To me, it just seems like, first of all, they're going to be working on commercial projects first, right? Rather than painting the outside of windows or cleaning windows. But who knows? Obviously, the one thing we know that is for sure going to happen is a lot of change. And so one of the big things why I really do believe I've put my best effort to sort of help my people really perform well is because, again, I think computers, robots can't solve human interaction, can't be leaders, and can't solve problems the way we're solving problems, and that again, I think we're preparing people for whatever's going to happen in the future. I believe the future is bold and big and lots of opportunities, and I think there's going to be more and more of the winners are taking more and more, the losers are losing more and more, and again, I hope there are going to be, and I'm sure there will be, solutions around how to manage that. But definitely, I think we're training the right stuff for whatever's going to be happening over the next number of decades.
Nice. Chris, we have a question for you that we ask all of our guests.
Sure.
And obviously, just being like the business space, we love to get the opinion from people with different perspectives. If you had to start over and you had no connections, no money, your business is gone, like you're in a new country, nobody knows you, you have nothing, and you had to make $1 million of profit in a 3-year timeline, what would you do? What actions are you taking, and how are you making $1 million?
Well, that's just an enormous commitment. You guys think big. So first of all, given all that I know, I would run a home services business, and I would not run a student business. There's no way you could generate, I could figure out a way to generate. And also it'd be pretty weird given I don't know anybody, me wandering on a campus and trying to convince people to run a student.
No social proof for you guys.
Exactly. Pretty tough. Who is this old guy? I know I don't see myself as old, but I think it would be a problem. So yeah, I would run a home maintenance service business. I would train all sorts of marketers to teach them how to go drive business. I would train callers to go call. I train painters to go paint. I could run the painting side of the business, not the window cleaning side of the business, because I think it would scale faster, larger average job size. If that was a life and death thing, I could go do that. Yeah, I'm sure I could go do that. Just with the skill set I have.
Yeah, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
40 years of seeing 2,000 people run painting businesses.
Yeah, I could
You probably got it down pat at this point.
That's right. I must say I wouldn't want to do that, but I could go do that. So yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, and sometimes we ask the flip side of it, but I think you've already given us your answer. The flip side of it is like, hey, and if money wasn't a problem, like if you just didn't have to worry about money, you won the lottery, whatever, what would you spend the next little while doing? But from the sounds of it, you already answered that.
Well, I've won the lottery.
Yeah.
Again, we'll take the money and we'll continue to take the money, and it's incredible just how successful we've been, and 100%. I'll continue to keep going to training, keep giving coaching, keep recruiting as long as my son and wife let me. As the CEO and future CEO of the business. And that's actually a fun thing. Maybe this is the last question, but to share, one of the concerns my wife had, Helen, and as the CEO of the business, always looking at risks, was, she sees, at times she sees an older guy and going, well, why do these students want to hang with you? I don't understand it. What's going on? Like, is this going to keep going on? Are they going to stop? And she doesn't not think that they want to hang with you, but is this going to run out? Well, one of the things I went and did was I went back to my old swim coach at the University of Toronto, and he's in his mid-70s, early to mid-70s, and I was asking Byron, who is former national team coach. If you listen to CBC television and watch the Olympics, he's the main color commentator. Mm-hmm. So just an incredible guy, fantastic guy, a good friend. He's been on my pod. I asked Byron, I said, you're this age, have you lost connection with the team? What happened? He goes, there's absolutely no difference. The only difference is I don't like the music. But he goes, I had the same thing. My son was on the team, and it's just most people who are our age lose touch, and the reason they lose touch is because they lose touch. Like, I spend my life with 20-year-olds. I'm always with 20-year-olds and 18, 19, 20-year-olds, and so again, it's I'm always sort of seeing. I hear the words change. I hear the music change, but the interests, especially the interests of high performing young people, don't change. Like, the one thing that I'm sure you see is the older generation always looks down on the new generation. That is just apparent, has been apparent. Like, literally, that's what they told me in my late 20s. Are people any different? They seem different to me. Mm-hmm. And again, I see no difference between the high performing, highly committed people. Yes, maybe they are more digitally capable. There's different things that between the generations, but high performers are high performers.
Wow. Now, Chris, it's been an amazing podcast.
Awesome.
And there's definitely like a lot more. Like you seem like a guy who's like got a lot of wisdom, a lot of stories, a lot of things to share. Obviously, in the interest of all of us being in integrity with our schedules for the rest of the day. What is like the last kind of piece of advice that you'd want to give to people like myself and Phil? A lot of our audience is younger people in student works or trying to run their own business. Late teens, early 20s. Like what's some advice you would give? Obviously, having gone through that yourself and having coached lots of people, what would you want to leave people with?
Yeah, that's great. I've heard a lot of times people talking about find your passion and things like that, and I am so glad that I found really what really rocks my world, etc. But like I don't know if that's great wisdom, but because maybe that's hard to do. Like I was really fortunate to be able to find the confluence of things. Like I love coaching. I was coached by national team coaches. I love the idea of teaching. I had some great teachers. I love the idea of entrepreneurship. It was like this mingle. But I must say I was looking for doing something that was more than just a way to figure out how to make money. So I recommend that. Let's look for what can be really good. Let's look for it. But I think if I look at lessons, it's like work hard, love the work, fall in love with the work hard, do hard things. Just extend yourself, be the person capable of doing hard stuff. Like that's just a really, really great thing. And then, really, really work on this thing called integrity, being your word. Again, a great example I love to give is when you have an alarm in the morning, what do? So I get up. It's not that hard. That's my first commitment in the morning. I get up. I can't recall. I've never hit a snooze. So to me, hitting a snooze is I'm not doing what I said. I made a commitment to myself. I'm not doing it. It's the first promise of the day. I've broken it. So it's really seeing the world like that. Made a commitment, get up, and it starts there. And then, I made my bed this morning and, emptied the dishwasher, took my dogs for a walk. Like there's things that I commit to. I make the coffee every morning for my wife and I, so it's I shouldn't say, and then sometimes they don't, it's not a 100% all the time, but again, that's my commitment. That's living in integrity, and then your life works, so really, really getting cured. And then those are small commitments of integrity, but then also that those are, if we think about, like if I notice, like literally I know one time I think in the last year I didn't make the coffee, that popped up for me. Well, you can bet I'm not philandering and haven't, or cheating my partner, or doing things at higher levels of integrity. And when we do that, when we become that type of person, then again, people drawn to you. Your life gets better. Those people who and another thing is people will remember you. So who you are now, in a decade, in 2 decades, in 3 decades, they will remember you. The community of people who do things is small. So I think that's so important. It's just, and again, it's not building your brand. Just be you. Just go out, do the best you can. If you made a mistake, I'm sorry, own it, but just try to be the best person. Remember that, don't try to squeeze the most profit out of every deal, because you want someone to feel, they want, now again, make great profit, fair profit, but be the type of person you want to work with. So yeah, those are some things I see.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah,
really appreciate your time.
Awesome.
and everything.
Yeah, and for anyone listening, if you guys want to hear more of Chris, Leaders of Tomorrow podcast, studentworksmanagementprogram.com.
Yes, studentworks.com. Yes, studentworks.com. If anything like becoming amazing leaders like these two people interests you and learning more about it. Awesome.
It's been a pleasure, Chris. Thanks so much.
You betcha. Great work, guys. Yeah, thank you. See, and we hit the commitment in just a few minutes, so that's awesome. Well done. That was fun.
Oh, that was amazing.
Yeah, that was great.